Well, this is interesting, isn't it? In the lesson from Exodus this morning, the people of Israel feel lost. They have followed God, but the days in the wilderness seem longer and longer as their physical needs increase. Time and again, they forget why they are in the wilderness, to follow God on a journey. And time and again, God saves them from their momentary fear of their surroundings and brings comfort and aid. Finally, God brings them home to a new place, a promised land. This past week has been a step into the wilderness in so many ways. Was it really only 1 week ago that our biggest concern was how to move away from intinction? The past week has brought decision after decision from health authorities who are acting in the public's best interests. And those decisions have raised our attention and escalated our concern until we are here and you are there. We cannot be together. Not just in church, but our whole society has changed dramatically in just a few days' time. We at St. Paul's and so many other congregations around the nation and the world have done what before was unthinkable. Now it just makes sense. We have closed our doors on Sundays out of concern for all involved, even though we proclaim in normal circumstances that worship itself is one of the most beneficial activities for the whole world. I want to tell you a little bit about that decision. This past week, your chapter, your wardens, and staff have been hard at work. Slowing a place like St. Paul's Cathedral down isn't easy to do. Dean Penny has been involved in each of the major decisions. At the beginning of the week, the bishop released a list of precautions for every congregation in the diocese to take. We talked with Penny and had an emergency teleconference with the chapter, who decided to move away from Eucharist to morning prayer in order to avoid touch as much as possible in our services. Within 15 hours of that decision, several government officials had made pronouncements about large gatherings that caused us to regroup. While the restrictions are only mandatory for more than 200 gatherings of more than 250 people, the precautions we would have had to take in order to continue meeting were extremely challenging. In the end, with new stories of outbreaks related to communities of faith appearing every day, we simply decided that we could not risk becoming another one of those stories. Martin Luther wrote during an outbreak of plague in 1527 that in order to treasure the sanctity of life, the gift that's given to each of us in our bodies, we must both protect the bodies we have been given and care for others, serving the sick and the vulnerable. It is heartbreaking to close our doors on Sunday morning. But we want to value the sanctity of life that has been given to us and avoid recklessness, so we have taken these drastic steps. But we are also determined to continue to be a community of faith in the midst of this wilderness, to trust that God will do something new among us even here, even now. Some of you have asked about Dean Penny, and I know it has been hard for her to be away during this time. She and I have kept in touch, especially this past week with the rapid decision-making. She came home early from sabbatical last night, but she will voluntarily self-isolate for another 2 weeks. As a result, her return to work date is about the same as previously scheduled, near Palm Sunday, barring any more unforeseen delays. We don't yet know what we will do for Holy Week. We imagine that as the next week or two unfolds and Penny is closer to home, we will be able to make plans based on how the situation unfolds in San Diego. In the meantime, I encourage you to take stock in Paul's letter to the Romans today. The relationship between fear and faith is a well-established one. God does not send us difficult circumstances, but certainly God uses challenges to walk beside us and pour grace into us so that we can be strengthened and find new levels of peace and understanding and go deeper into our trust and in our faith. As a way to build that faith together as a community, I encourage everyone in the St. Paul's community to register for a new ministry we've just begun called Circles of Love. It's a way we're going to try to stay connected during this time. When you register, you'll be connected to a small group of 5 to 10 people and contacted by phone at least once a week so that we can remain one Cathedral family. There are other aspects to the ministry, and I hope you will read more about it and sign up by calling the church office or going to stpaulcathedral.org/circles. We will continue to make updates through the St. Paul's website and through Facebook as things change. But just as the Israelites eventually were led out of the wilderness, this strange time will come to an end as well. And my prayer is that we will use it well to care for each other and for our neighbors, staying healthy along the way. The Christian tradition of caring for the sick in challenging times is a well-established one. And God does amazing things in the most unusual times in our lives. So stay healthy, and I invite you to continue to worship online with the Cathedral during this unique time. Our doors may be closed, but we are still open, and we are still church. So let us keep walking together and loving our neighbor as ourselves.